All right, listen up. If you're watching this on a weak PC, an old laptop, or something about to take off like a jet engine, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This video is not for flex PCs. This is for real gamers. I handpicked 15 games that run on low-end systems, still feel premium, still look good, and most importantly, still hit hard. I'll tell you what the game is, why people love it, how it runs on weak hardware, and what to tweak so it doesn't cook your PC. Trust me, this click was worth it. Let's start. If even one game from this list ends up in your downloads folder tonight, this video did its job. 1. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare or Black Ops. Genre, first-person shooter. What it is? Fast, cinematic missions and competitive multiplayer. Why people love it? Classic maps, clutch gameplay, huge nostalgia. How it runs on low-end PCs? Playable at 720p with low shadows and low textures. Campaign is lighter than multiplayer. System, dual-core CPU, 2 to 4 gigabytes RAM, integrated or low-end GPU, 10 to 15 gigabytes storage. Tip, lock your FPS. Stable 40 beats spiky 80. 2. Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 2. Genre, open-world action shooter. What it is? Island sandbox, stealth, explosions, and chaos. Why people love it? Freedom to create moments and wild encounters. How it runs on low-end PCs? Drop foliage, shadows, and draw distance. Play at 720p. System, dual-core CPU, 3 to 4 gigabytes RAM, older GPU, or decent integrated graphics. Tip, lower foliage first. 3. Fallout New Vegas. Genre, open-world RPG. What it is? Choice-driven post-apocalypse with deep quests and factions. Why people love it? Writing, replay value, and a huge mod community. How it runs on low-end PCs? Vanilla runs very smooth. Mods increase requirements. System, dual-core CPU, 2 to 4 gigabytes RAM vanilla, 6 to 8 gigabytes if modded, 10 to 20 gigabytes storage. Tip, install stability fixes before heavy mods. Quick optimization tip number 1, close your browser. Chrome is the real final boss. 4. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Genre, open world sandbox. What it is? Driving, missions, chaos, and endless mods. Why people love it? Nostalgia and modability. How it runs on low-end PCs? Runs on almost anything. Mods are the only threat. System, 1 to 2 gigabytes RAM, basic GPU, 4 to 12 gigabytes storage depending on mods. Tip, add one visual mod at a time and test FPS. 5. Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood. Genre, action-adventure, parkour. What it is? Smooth traversal, beautiful cities, and satisfying assassinations. Why people love it? Ezio, story, and movement that still feels great. How it runs on low-end PCs? CPU heavy, lower crowd density and shadows. System, dual-core CPU, around 4 gigabytes RAM, older GPU or decent integrated graphics. Tip, turn crowd density down for a big FPS boost. 6. Hollow Knight. Genre, 2D Metroidvania. What it is? Hand-drawn world, tight combat, and deep exploration. Why people love it? Design quality and atmosphere. How it runs on low-end PCs? Extremely optimized. Runs on integrated graphics. System, dual-core CPU, 2 gigabytes RAM, around 5 gigabytes storage. Tip, close background apps for the smoothest input. 7. Celeste. Genre, precision platformer. What it is? Frame-perfect platforming with a real story. Why people love it? Tight controls and rewarding design. How it runs on low-end PCs? Very light. Any modern laptop handles it. System, 1 to 2 gigabytes RAM, minimal GPU needs. Tip, use a controller for the best input. 8. Just Cause 2. Genre, open world chaos sandbox. What it is? Grapple, wingsuit, and absurd stunts. Why people love it? Pure spectacle and viral moments. How it runs on low-end PCs? Particles and physics kill FPS. Lower those first. System, dual-core CPU, around 4 gigabytes RAM, lower mid discrete GPU, 8 to 12 gigabytes storage. Tip, set particles and physics to low. 9. Mafia 2. Genre, story-driven action. What it is? Cinematic gangster missions and atmosphere. Why people love it? Story and period feel. How it runs on low-end PCs? Runs well on low settings. System, dual-core CPU, 2 to 4 gigabytes RAM, older GPU, 8 to 12 gigabytes storage. Tip: use chapter markers in videos to skip long cutscenes. 10. STALKR, Call of Pripyat. Genre: survival FPS. What it is: tense exploration, scavenging, and emergent encounters. Why people love it: extreme atmosphere and mod support. How it runs on low-end PCs: heavier than most here, needs aggressive tweaks or community performance mods. System: dual-core CPU, 4 to 6 GB RAM, mid-range older GPU, around 10 GB storage. Tip: use community performance configs. Quick optimization tip number 2, install games on an SSD if possible. Load times improve big time. 11. Oblivion or Skyrim. Genre: open world RPGs. What they are: massive worlds, endless quests, and huge mod scenes. How they run on low-end PCs: Oblivion is lighter. Skyrim needs careful mod choices and lower settings. System: Oblivion, dual-core, 2 to 4 GB RAM. Skyrim, dual-core minimum, 4 GB RAM, 6 to 8 GB recommended for light mods. Tip: start vanilla, then add a small, curated mod list. 12. Prototype 1 and 2. Genre: superpower action. What they are: morphing powers, destruction, and speed. Why people love it: city objects and particles tank FPS. Lower those first. System: dual-core CPU, around 4 GB RAM, mid-2000s class GPU, 8 to 12 GB storage. Tip: reduce particle effects first. 13. Spec Ops: The Line. Genre: third-person shooter. What it is: a shooter that becomes a heavy narrative experience. Why people love it: storytelling that actually hits. How it runs on low-end PCs: sand and particle storms cost FPS, lower particle and physics detail. System: dual-core CPU, around 4 GB RAM, older GPU, around 15 GB storage. Tip: let story beats breathe in your footage. 14. Alan Wake. Genre: action horror. What it is: episodic thriller with strong atmosphere. Why people love it: mood, writing, and pacing. How it runs on low-end PCs: lighting and shadows hurt performance. Lower those. System: dual-core CPU, around 4 GB RAM, older GPU, around 15 GB storage. Tip: boost ambient sound in capture to keep atmosphere. 15. Mirror's Edge. Genre: first-person parkour. What it is: movement and momentum are everything. Why people love it: flow and style. How it runs on low-end PCs: lower shadows and resolution. Movement still sells. System: dual-core CPU, around 4 GB RAM, older GPU, around 8 to 12 GB storage. Tip: sync cuts to music for better energy. Bonus games: Prince of Persia: The Sand of Time, classic platforming with rewind, runs on almost any laptop. Max Payne 1, 2, and 3, bullet time shooters, early entries are very light. Max Payne 3 needs more power but is playable on low settings. Call of Juarez Gunslinger, fast arcade-style western shooter, lightweight and fun. Final quick optimization tips: lower resolution to 1280 by 720 first, disable shadows and heavy post-processing, lower foliage, particles, and draw distance, close background apps and browser tabs, install on an SSD if you can, cap your frame rate for stable performance. If you're still here, respect. You didn't just watch a video, you upgraded your game library without upgrading your PC. Comment which game you're downloading first. I'll make a full settings guide for the most requested one. Like, subscribe, and send this to anyone still gaming on a weak laptop. Play smart. I'll see you in the next one.